One more time for the 1st Marine Division Band. These guys came up here all the way from Camp Pendleton. They've been playing all over LA all this weekend. They've been doing a phenomenal job all over. They came in here, they knocked it out of the park. Everybody from the Marine Corps just absolutely owned Fleet Week this year, so props to them. And I want to give, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit, introduce myself. Who's this stranger on the microphone? My name is Chris Ailing, the Military Veteran Affairs Manager here at Battleship Iowa. Welcome to Battleship Iowa. Welcome to LA Fleet Week. Welcome to the best darn party this town knows how to throw. Welcome to the Navy, welcome to the Marine Corps, welcome to the Army, the Coast Guard, the Space Force, the Air Force, the entire darn military! We've got some special guests here with us today. We've got one very special speaker. Her name is Captain Jessica O'Brien. She's the commanding officer of Naval Weapons Station Seal Beach. We're going to get some ceremonial formalities out of the way, and then Captain O'Brien is going to share some of her story with all of you, some of her reflections about Memorial Day, the significance of this day, why we pause to remember the people in uniform, because there are a lot of people walking around here in uniform, but there are a lot of people who have worn uniforms who aren't walking around. And today we take a pause to remember every one of them and all of their sacrifices. So thank you for being here. Thank you for helping us celebrate this day. Give yourselves a round of applause. I would now like to introduce Caroline Torres, who is going to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in their gay proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that Star-Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, thank you. And now I would like to welcome to the stage a very special friend of mine, Chaplain Dove Cohen, who will provide our invocation for tonight.
Please remain seated. Almighty Creator, today we come before you with deepest gratitude in our hearts and minds for all the gifts you give us each day. Family, loved ones, good friends, laughter, and the great opportunities in the service of our country. Help us always to receive these gifts with thanksgiving, and may our hearts be stirred to appreciate all of your many mercies. Today, as we gather to witness the remembrance of Memorial Day 2024, we give recognition to the spirit that makes our country great. A willingness to give totally of ourselves for freedom for all peoples, even unto death, and for the great blessing of being a part of these United States of America. For all the women and men of every race and creed who were and are willing to sacrifice to see a dream of equality and freedom come to fruition, and for the legacies of peace and wisdom that they have left each of us, we give you thanks. May we each be worthy in our own lives of that noble legacy. Today, as we gather to give recognition for all that those who came before us have done for us to protect our freedoms, to grant us the wisdom to keep our country strong, help us be ever mindful of all that we have gained and all that we must still accomplish. And bless these crew and volunteers with us here today at our USS Battleship Iowa and aboard the SS Carl Vinson for maintaining and preserving their vessels. And Almighty God, your strength enables us to protect others. Your providence keeps us safe. We ask you to help us turn our hearts towards you each and every day, while we demonstrate that those who appear to be not just like us are indeed just like us. And we say together, Amen.
I would now like to welcome to the stage Captain Jessica O'Brien, United States Navy, Commanding Officer of Naval Weapons Station Seal Beach. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big, rousing applause to Captain Jessica O'Brien.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for the opportunity to speak to you as we close out both LA Fleet Week and Memorial Day. I'm proud to say that we are wrapping up an extremely successful Fleet Week where we welcomed to Los Angeles USS Carl Vinson and her crew. It had been 13 years since an aircraft carrier participated in LA Fleet Week, and seeing the ship berthed here in San Pedro has been really something special, and I hope you guys agree with that. We have a lot to be thankful for this evening, and I am especially thankful for the thousands of military personnel and all of our civilian partners who came together to put on such an incredible week of events. It truly has been extraordinary. Now, I have the honor and privilege of commanding the only Navy base in the Los Angeles, Orange County area. Even though the Naval Weapons Station has been around now for over 80 years, I know that my base still has a little bit of mystery to many of the local residents. So I always like to start with a little background about where I work. Our sailors and civilians specialize in storing and maintaining Navy missiles, torpedoes, ammunition, and countermeasure devices. We load these munitions onto Pacific Fleet warships that are preparing to deploy overseas. Once those vessels come home from deployment, we unload those same munitions and prepare them for the next ship. And we do the same thing for our Marine Corps ammunition carried by our amphibious assault ships. Your local Navy base supplies munitions to the entire U.S. Pacific Fleet, and in fact is the only Naval Weapons Station port within 1,000 miles of the fleet concentration area in San Diego. Now, we are here today for a very important reason, and that is to pay our respects to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of our country. This should always be a poignant day in the hearts of all Americans, but even more so in times like today where we're seeing conflict in both Europe and the Middle East. As I speak, over 50,000 Navy personnel are deployed overseas, many in harm's way. A carrier strike group led by the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower is in the Red Sea today, protecting both shipping and our regional allies against Houthi missile attacks. A carrier strike group led by the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt is in the South China Sea protecting freedom of navigation in that highly contested area. And many other Navy ships are underway today combating piracy and drug trafficking along the coast of Somalia and in the Caribbean. And that's just the Navy. Our sister military services are just as heavily involved around the world. From training foreign security forces, to building hospitals, to fighting piracy and terrorism, more often in peacetime than in war, our military personnel have continually sacrificed on the nation's behalf. The average length of a Navy ship deployment is now 7 months and is often extended even further. Military tours on the ground in war zones can last from 6 months to over a year. Our young men and women are out there 24 hours a day for months on end in some of the most inhospitable places on the planet. Some of them, such as our crews operating today in the Red Sea, are seeing combat during their tours. And sadly, there's always a chance that some will not come back, and we will dedicate future Memorial Days to them. I was personally reminded of this early in my naval career. The first ship that I served aboard was USS Anchorage, LSD 36. It was an amphibious dock landing ship that carried Marines. I reported to the Anchorage in July of 2000, and we promptly left San Diego for a 6-month deployment to the Pacific and Middle East. While enjoying a port visit in the Seychelles on October 12, 2000, we started receiving reports that there had been an explosion on a destroyer while she was fueling in Yemen. We soon learned that the USS Cole had been the victim of a terrorist attack that killed 17 American sailors and injured another 37. We left the Seychelles within hours of receiving the first reports, leaving behind sailors and Marines who had been on liberty. And we were the first US ship to arrive off the coast of Aden, Yemen to render assistance. I will never forget seeing the gaping hole in the side of the ship and thinking it could have just as easily been us. We were scheduled for a fueling stop in Aden in just a few weeks. We remained off the coast of Yemen for almost 30 days, providing hot meals, laundry services, and general support to the crew of the USS Cole. And it was truly a defining moment in my naval career. Since September 11, 2001, over 7,000 of our military personnel have given their lives in combat zones. But those numbers only scratch the surface of sacrifice over our nation's long history. We lost over 25,000 patriots during the War of Independence. In World War I, the American military dead numbered over 100,000. In World War II, we would lose over 400,000, including over 12,000 soldiers, sailors, and Marines killed during the battle for Okinawa alone. During the wars in Korea and Vietnam, we would lose over 100,000 more of our nation's best and brightest. These are truly staggering numbers, and they don't even include the deaths outside of combat areas. So why do we do this? Why do we send our sons and daughters away from their loved ones, sometimes to hostile shores, and all the risks that such an endeavor entails? It's often said that freedom isn't free, but I'm not sure that everyone fully understands what this means in 2024. Clearly, we are not in imminent danger of being overrun by enemy forces and having our country and its people enslaved by a hostile regime. Our military superiority at this moment in time makes such a concept absolutely laughable. But we don't have to go too far back in history to recall a time when the future of our country was unclear and we had to overcome many obstacles to maintain our freedom and our way of life. Washington, D.C. was overrun, sacked, and burned in 1814. In early 1942, the Allied powers seemed on the verge of defeat, and there were certainly some very dark days during the Cold War. At some future point in time, be it 20 or 50 or 100 years from now, we will likely face these challenges again. We are living in a very dynamic environment, and nothing stays the same forever. Just look at Ukraine. 3 years ago, few would have thought it possible that a major war would be fought inside a modern European democracy, decimating countless cities and towns and displacing millions. Yet here we are. I think that most Americans understand the critical role our armed forces play in deterring other nations from even thinking about attacking us directly. Our military has certainly helped to keep the threat of foreign terror from reaching our shores, and our service members have paid a huge price in accomplishing this over the last 20+ years. Even so, right now, freedom remains more of an ethereal concept than a major concern to the vast majority of Americans. And because of this, it can be difficult to convince some in this country of the importance of service and that the sacrifices of our military service members really do mean something. But in reality, even today, our freedoms need constant protection, not so much from a catastrophic loss, but from a slow death caused by many smaller pinpricks. Do we as Americans have the freedom to travel as we like? The threat of terrorism has unquestionably limited the places an American would feel safe traveling in, and it has also led to greater airport restrictions here at home and abroad. And another example, our economy fundamentally depends on the unimpeded flow of commerce and information on and under the seas, and 90% of all global trade travels by sea. 1/4, that's 38 million of all US jobs are directly or indirectly tied to global trade. Clearly, the free flow of goods over the world's oceans is a top national security issue. Your Navy, along with our fellow services, has ensured this flow of goods remains unimpeded. Because as we saw during the COVID crisis, even small trade disruptions can have big downstream impacts. Whenever gas prices go up because of instability in the world, they affect transportation costs, which affects food prices and on down the line. Whenever the cost of essential products and services increases, Americans end up with less money to spend as they like. This is a loss of economic freedom, and it tends to hit our most vulnerable citizens the hardest. While these examples may seem fairly inconsequential by themselves, over time they add up. One day, everyone looks back and realizes that their basic quality of life and many of the freedoms that they've taken for granted have been substantially cut back or eliminated, one small piece at a time. Deterring aggression and preventing future wars and terror attacks. Safeguarding the economic livelihood that our country depends on. And when all else fails, fighting and winning wars. These are all critical ideals that we ask our service members to support and sometimes fight for. They follow in the proud tradition of all our nation's warriors before them, many of whom gave everything in the process. From the earliest moments of our nation to the present, the annals of history speak volumes about the oft-ignored cost of freedom, the selfless sacrifices of our service members, both inside and outside of combat zones, and the incredible debt of gratitude we owe all those who have put their lives on the line for our nation. So this Memorial Day, next Memorial Day, and every day in between, please take a moment to remember all of our soldiers, our sailors, Marines, airmen, guardians, and Coast Guardsmen who perished in war as well as in peacetime. They died protecting our freedoms that we enjoy each and every day. We owe them an immeasurable debt of gratitude today and every day. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have served or are serving in the United States Army, please rise. If you are serving or have served in the United States Marine Corps, please rise. If you are serving or have served in the United States Navy, please rise. If you are serving or have served in the United States Air Force, please rise. If you are serving or have served in the United States Space Force, please rise. And if you are serving or have served in the United States Coast Guard, please rise. And if you respect every one of these people around you who is standing tall right now, please rise, if you can. I'll ask everybody here to please remain standing during a moment of silence. Following the moment of silence, we have the presentation of taps. Please remain standing for that as well. I forgot one thing, I'm sorry. I would like to introduce Commander Poininger, United States Coast Guard, Commanding Officer of Coast Guard Base Los Angeles, Long Beach. Captain Via Haworth, Commanding Officer of Medical Battalion, I forget the number, El Segundo Air Force Base. Colonel Mia Walsh, Commanding Officer of Space Base Delta 3, El Segundo. Lieutenant Colonel Eric Kim, Instructor Inspector for 514 Marines, United States Marine Corps. Obviously, you met Captain Jessica O'Brien, Commanding Officer of Naval Weapons Station Seal Beach, and Lieutenant Colonel Desjardins. He's the XO of a Civil Affairs Brigade that I cannot remember the name of. But each one of these individuals is a command leader in their respective branches. Every single one of them came out today to pay respects to their branch and their fallen service members. And now we will present taps, and they will proudly present their wreaths. Color guard, retire the colors.
Color guard, Cary. Colors. Hard time. March. March.
Let's hear it one more time for this kick-ass band. I don't want to keep anybody here longer than we need to. We're wrapping up the evening, we're wrapping up the weekend. Every single one of our heads are spinning from being out on the grinder, in the sun, hanging out with all of you, having a wonderful time. But it has been a long weekend, and we are tuckered, and I'm sure you are too. I hope everybody here had a wonderful time visiting the USS Carl Vinson. Yeah? It's been a long time since we've had a carrier here in Los Angeles, and I think it's absolutely amazing, and I think it's wonderful you all got to have that experience. I want to share one personal note about what it takes to put on Fleet Week, what a heavy lift it is for every single person involved here, the entire crew of Battleship Iowa, and everybody who helps us. I think everybody here has probably heard the adage that an army moves on its stomach. And it takes nothing less than an army to make Fleet Week happen. And we had an absolutely wonderful group of individuals that helped feed us and every single person in uniform in this footprint the entire weekend. So right now, I need to call Armando Rodriguez and Jason Parks front and center. These two individuals are members of the Marine Corps Elite Detachment. They started Son of a Gun Barbecue. It is a veteran-owned entrepreneurship. These guys came out of the Corps. They weren't done serving their community. They weren't done serving their country. They weren't done serving their Corps. And they're absolutely committed to serving us, and I can't thank them enough. From the bottom of my heart, I have nothing but gratitude, admiration, and respect for these guys. Thank you, A-Rod. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for the chow. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for making Fleet Week what it is. Now get off my stage so everybody can go home. Come up here and take it. I'm now going to invite Chaplain Cohen back to the stage, offer a benediction. We're going to wait for this flyover to finish, I think. Thanks to the cops that came out too. And the firefighters. Everybody see that, the ladder up with that big giant flag and our beautiful holiday ensign flying off the mast? Come on now. Who's got the best darn flag in the world? We do, right? Chaplain Dove, please close this out.
I know, as Chris said, we're all tired, so I'm going to give you the shortest benediction I've ever written. Today we have come to this historic USS Battleship Iowa in peace and brotherhood, with reverence for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, serving our country, to commemorate this Memorial Day 2024. And now may you travel safely to your homes, and may this day be the commencement of your work to make our world an even better and safer place in which to raise our families and build a brighter future. We care for each other, our families, our friends, and our neighbors, loving our lives and those who travel with us in them. We ask for God's blessing for us and for each other, and for all who serve and wear the uniform of our country, and we say together, amen. Travel safely home, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1st Marine Division Band, under the direction of Staff Sergeant Eaves. Thank you so much for visiting us here at LA Fleet Week. We look forward to seeing you again next year, Memorial Day weekend. On behalf of all of your friends here, all of our sponsors at LA Fleet Week, thank you again sincerely. On your way out, be sure to high-five your local service member. Take the time to honor, reflect, and remember those who paid the ultimate price for our freedoms. Thank you so much.